What's going on, everybody? This is Daniel, the admin of all those Jazz Nation pages, making sure I got my microphone on there. Let's turn the background music off. Welcome into another edition of the Jazz Nation Daily. This is just me trying to do something daily to keep you guys up to date on jazz news, NBA news, NBA rumors, and things like that. A little afternoon edition here. Getting ready to get joined by Jared, who is part of the Inside Jazz. And there he is now.
What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I know it's kind of last minute there, but
just it's all good, man.
Doing a little introduction here. So this is Jared, everybody. He is with Inside the Jazz on Twitter. Are you guys on anything else, or is it just Twitter?
Facebook, and we have YouTube too. So any one of those work, yeah.
There you go. And I get you. So you guys are part of Sports Illustrated, kind of, or how does that work?
Yeah. So we have there's Sports Illustrated, which is like the main hub, and then you have Fan Nation, which is essentially all of these team sites delegated across the league for like whatever sport it may be. So I'm like the main editor or one of the main editors for the Jazz site. So I just kind of do that, and I write like maybe two, 3 articles a day, and just kind of keep up with the Jazz news and stuff. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for hopping on and joining me here. So let's just get into, I'm going to talk about some of the NBA news that broke today. Obviously, the big story is Ja Morant receives 25-game suspension from the NBA. Morant will be required to meet certain conditions by the NBA before he can return. Also, he cannot participate in any league or team activities during his suspension. I mean, I don't think there's really much to say from my side of that. It is what it is. I mean, do you have any takes on that?
Yeah, I mean, so the league was coming down, and you knew it was going to be like the significant suspension with a new with like 65-game limit that the players have to get. So he's going to miss out on a lot of money. So if that's the goal that they were trying to hit, like in his pockets, that is essentially an effective way to do it. So I mean, the game amount, I think that's kind of irrelevant. I think the main factor is like we're not like here's where like we're like you're going to make him hurt in the pockets, I guess. So I think they kind of did what they were going to accomplish there. I think they kind of achieved their goal. Yeah.
I don't know. Does it though? Because he's still selling plenty of Nikes right now. So
I guess
he's relying on that contract money, maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he's also lost about like a lot of endorsements too. Because I know he had Powerade for a little bit, and then he lost that as soon as the first thing dropped. So I know like he's probably not making as much before, but maybe it's a different lesson. Who knows?
All I know is hopefully he learns from it. I will say it's pretty. If you look at the comments of after the post and stuff like that, if you look in Facebook posts or Twitter posts, it's kind of funny. People's let's just say, without going into too much exact what I'm trying to say, social media is fun, but also has its evil side. And when it comes to guns and gun things and stuff like that, you get comments from people that are just like, you don't even know sports. Shut up. Just Anyways, the other big story, of course, today is the Pelicans. They seem to be falling apart. Today, they released an assistant coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, who's been with the team since 2020 and had a pretty close relationship with Zion Williamson. I mean, it feels like that team is either about to do something big as far as trading Zion, or it's just all falling apart. And now, I guess today it's coming out that the Hornets would prefer to have Brandon Ingram over Zion. Of course, that could all just be made up stuff. So the Pelicans are like, oh, no, we're not trading him, but we'll give you Zion. Who the hell knows? Oh, and Michael Jordan's no longer with the Hornets either. So
there you go.
It's all a disaster. I don't know. What do you think is going to happen with the Pelicans?
So I think you'd be hard pressed for them to actually trade Zion. You're going to hear about it because he's like this number 1 overall pick. There's a lot of, constant rumors about him. I don't think they're going to end up trading him just because like, he was, what kind of talent he can bring to a team. And I think you haven't fully seen it at its full form yet. And I think cashing out early is just a little bit short-sighted. So I would say they wouldn't trade Zion. Ingram, I think, is a bit different because he's like, I think you kind of know what you're getting out of Ingram at this point. You don't know what you're getting out of Zion. So I think if you're trying to get Scoot Henderson, which it seems like they're trying to get, if the pairing, I think the potential high ceiling is there with Zion and Scoot. Absolutely. And I think it's also there with Ingram, but I think you kind of know what you're getting there as far as like, instead of the unexpected. So if there's a high ceiling there for them to like be able to reach like these, like I think with Scoot and Zion, like fully healthy could be a top 3 seed in the West. So I think maybe like if everything goes correctly, they can do that. But I'm not sure, like with the current core that we have now, I'm not sure we're going next year seeing Zion and Ingram together.
Just call me crazy, and maybe it's just because I've never been a Zion guy. I remember when he came into the league, I'm like, that dude needs to lose some weight or he's not going to work out, and he never lost the weight. Instead, he just was always injured. If I'm a Pelicans fan, this is probably easier for me to say because I'm not, but I would be all for trading him. I would be kind of over it, especially you gotta trade while he's still hot. I mean, say he comes into another season with the Pelicans and just gets hurt again, then his trade value is going to be so bad. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens here in the next week. Of course, draft week, we're fully into it. We're now officially under a week to the draft, so that means rumors and made up crap is all over the place. Yesterday, Draft Express guru Johnny Givani dropped something that I thought was pretty interesting, and this concerns the Utah Jazz. He is saying Kobe Bufkin could be really that guy that goes higher than folks are expecting, even as high as number 9 to the Utah Jazz. Now, to me, this is insane to say that he could go to number 9. It's either that or David Locke is like leaking information to ESPN because he is so in love with Kobe Bufkin. I don't know if I'm missing. I don't think at all he's worth a number 9. If the Jazz really want him, I would say trade back to like with the Thunder and take him at 12 or something, but not at 9. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
Yeah, so I think honestly, I think there's a bit like I think there's a significant like drop off after the top 8 because you have the top 3 guys and you have Amon and Alzar and I think you have Cam Whitmore and then Jarris Walker and Taylor Hendricks. I think that's the top 8. I think anything like if any of those fall to the Jazz, I think that's the pick. Outside of that, I think it gets a little bit murky, and that's where you get people being like, "Oh, let's take Kobe Bufkin 9." I don't think he's worth that. I think he's far more worth like a 16. But yeah, I mean, I think if he's there at 16, he's absolutely the pick. I think 9 is a bit high though. I would go another direction there.
Yeah, no, I guess, I mean, so I was listening to a podcast that the Draft Express guy was on. I think it was, God, I've listened to so many podcasts in the last 24 hours. I can't even keep track of it anymore. It was one of the Ringer ones. Anyways, he was on there and they were talking about Bufkin, that he was supposed to actually have a workout recently with the Jazz, but canceled. And I guess he canceled with a lot of teams that are in that 14 to 16 range. And I guess there's beliefs that he's obviously got to, when you're canceling that stuff, that means you got to promise ahead. So
yeah,
that's just, I mean, another guy that's just blowing my mind that have how high he's apparently growing up. I mean, or going up in these mock drafts. And I remember when we first started looking at mock drafts, there was talks of him being available for the Jazz at 28. And then they're like, okay, 16. And now they're saying like top 10 is a damn French dude. However you say his name, Bilal Coulibaly. Yeah. I mean, maybe I feel like you're the third or fourth person I'm going to ask to try and sell me on this guy because I don't get it. Like, I understand the tall, he looks okay over there in the French league, but I don't think people aren't keeping in mind that he's just barely been on that team. Like he was he was part of almost like their minor league team since January, and then he got called up. And even when he got called up, I don't think his numbers were that great to be a top 10 pick. And the other thing that, I mean, my thing that I keep saying is I went through that whole Dante Exum thing. When I look at this guy, I'm talking just physically, I see a tall, skinny guy that comes to the NBA and is going to get torn apart. Go ahead. I guess now is your chance to sell me on why he's worth it. If he is the Jazz guy, why he's worth it.
Yeah, so I actually love Bilal, not for the fact of what he is right now, because I think if you're grading him as he is right now, yes, he's not worth the top 10 pick because he's clearly raw. He's one of the younger, like probably one of the young, I think he is one of the youngest players in the draft. So he's not fully developed as you see with like one of these top, like with like a 21-year-old or with some of these like guys in college. But I think if you're looking at like potential ceiling, he has all the athleticism to do that. Like if you're watching clips of him running or jumping, I don't know if you compare that to like anyone else in the draft as far like besides maybe like Victor or Scoot, like one of like the athletic freaks. But I think he's definitely up there as far as that goes. And if the Jazz can just develop that shot or just like the little mechanics here and there, I think that is probably after that top 8. I think there's a big drop off. But as far as like the biggest, like highest upside, I think he would have that. And I think if you're in a position with the Jazz that kind of needs, I think, like that franchise guy, because Laurie's great, but is he the number one champion, like number one guy on the championship team? I'm not sure. Bilal, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. Like, he's far from that right now. I don't even want to compare him to that. But I think if you're shooting in that 9 range, you need to go really high ceiling there because you're in that position to do that with all these draft picks too. Take a shot on Bilal. I would say like. The worst thing that happens, Bilal sucks. You have 2 first-round picks to capitalize with that too. So I don't think like you shouldn't be expected to hit 3 for 3 on all these picks because it's not going to happen. It's unrealistic. But if you're looking for just straight up upside, I think Bilal has some of the best in the class.
So here's my problem with that and what you're saying is that I can understand taking a risk with him at 16. I'm all in on that. But at 9, hell no. To me, I'm sorry, but this is a talented draft. Yes, you're exactly right as far as like, those top 5, 6, 7 guys, that's a whole nother level. But the Jazz could still get somebody like I think the guy that most people are talking about is obviously Hendricks falling to the Jazz at 9.
Yeah.
I think him at 9 is a pretty damn good pickup, and he can help the team. Like, obviously he's still going to need some development and things like that, but with the French dude, to me that's like a 2 to 3 year window of you're going to have to wait and see. Where a guy like Hendricks, he comes in, he's going to need some time, obviously, but I think you're going to know more about what he is right away and stuff like that. And the thing with Jazz fans, here's the thing, is like, we love to say, oh, we want to do this guy, we're in on this guy, and 1 year of him sucking, oh, they're gonna turn their backs on him so freaking fast. So to everyone saying, yeah, let's give him a chance and all this, it's like, do you really want to? Do you really want to suck another year? Because I don't think you guys are going to want to. Not saying the Jazz are going to be contenders next year, and not saying the rookies are going to be that great or whatever. I just don't think the Jazz, if they truly want this guy, it's just like I said about some other things, then trade back. Trade with the Thunder and, take their 12th pick and see if you can get next year's first round back and move back. I would be cool with that. Yeah, I just can't get in on that guy. I mean, if we're going to take a risk on Anthony Black, then he's a risk, but at least you kind of have a little bit more say. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think Black and like, that's pretty comparable because, I mean, it's like, you don't know what you're getting out of Black, but you've seen more of him at the college level. And he's played, the college level and then like EuroLeague, whoever's better. I mean, that's pretty debatable, I guess. But more what you're getting out of Black than Coulibaly. He's more of like a question mark, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I guess I don't know. I would be. I guess it's just me saying I'd be disappointed if they draft the French dude. I would be. Let me rephrase that. I'd be disappointed if they stay at 9 and draft him. If they want to wait, if for some reason he ends up at 16, which he won't, or if they want to move up to 12 or 13 and take him there, I guess I can deal with that. But at 9, I can't. Yeah. I would be so mad.
Yeah, I think part of that comes down to, like, I don't think you'd see him projected at 9 if he wasn't already projected a promise within 12 to 13. If that wasn't even a thing, I don't even think that'd be a discussion. But if the Jazz really like him, I think instead of hoping that he falls to 16, if they really like this guy, if they have that kind of like, all right, we're going to develop this guy, have all the confidence in the world in him, take a shot on him at 9, I guess. Because if you're waiting, if that's the guy you really want, waiting until 16 probably isn't the best option to do. But I mean, like a guy like Hendricks, I think would probably be a better decision. Like, because you're getting out of him. But I'm not sure.
I just don't. For the French dude. I mean, I don't even want to learn his name. That's how much I'm not into him. Yeah. I'm just going to call him the French dude. Don't get attached to him. But, I just don't see any way he makes it past Oklahoma City Thunder. I think I mean, if I recall right, their GM actually flew out to watch his last few games this last week. So that's how much.
Danny Ainge's done the same. Well, I mean, I think I saw something about at least Ainge or someone else flying out to France to watch him this week too. So. So my number one guy, and I've been saying this for a while, has been Cam Whitmore, and obviously he's not going to be there at 9. But here's the difference between a guy like Cam Whitmore when I look at him and the French dude. When I see Cam Whitmore, I'm just looking at him. I see a dude who's NBA ready as far as his physical. Like he's going to come in and be physical and ready to go. Yeah, he needs to work on things like his passing and things like that. But like as far as I'm talking like NBA ready as a body, he's going to be ready. Like the French dude, he needs to get in there and hit the gym like right away and stuff like that. That's going to take time. A dude like Cam Whitmore, definitely others like the Walker and stuff like that. Those guys are ready to come in and help right away. So my dream on draft night is somehow, some way the Jazz, and I don't know how they can do it. I'm not going to try saying if they can move into the top, wherever it is, to get Cam, that would be amazing. Or one of the Thompson twins. I like them too. But the one that obviously I don't think they're going to get aim on, but the other guy, obviously I think he's a little bit of a project with his shot too. But I don't know. What is your dream for the Jazz on draft night? So I think if you have the chance to trade up within the top 5, I'd say like getting like a Cam, one of the Thompson twins, or somehow getting Scooter Brandon Miller. That would probably be the dream scenario because they have all the assets to make the trade up. And I think getting 3 really solid players as opposed to 1 really good guy. In the NBA, you want the really good guy, I think. So I think pooling it, if you really want to like pool in some assets to try and trade up and get a guy like Cam or a guy like one of the Thompson twins, I would say doing a trade up within that top 5 would probably be smart. With such a loaded class like this and having that top heavy talent at the top of the board and having all the assets to do it, it seems like it makes a lot of sense to make happen.
So I don't think they get in the top 3 just because from everything we've heard and like recent like interviews that Tony Jones has said, apparently like the top 3, just their asking prices are just out of control. I mean, if you got to trade Zion Williamson to get number 2, obviously, and apparently Portland's just asking crazy asking price. So I don't think that's going to happen. For the Rockets, right? I don't think maybe you make a deal. I mean, they're hard to say because, 1 minute you hear Harden's going there, next minute he's not. And so that means they're just going to be a losing team again, probably, or not try to win now. So I think if there's any chance for the Jazz to move up, it's possibly with Orlando, just because Orlando, I get the vibe Orlando's going to want to try and make the playoffs next year. So they could be looking for a guy like a Kelly Olynyk where he can come in and give him some vet help, and he's on a really good contract. So if it doesn't work out, he's just gone the next year. But he comes in, we've seen it on our team. He's a good vet, helps out, good player, good teammate. And then obviously you just make some trades as far as the picks. I don't know. Do you think anything like that? Is that where you would think if it's possible, that's the team they probably need to try and move in with?
Yeah, I mean, because if you're looking at 6, you'd have at least one of the Thompson twins and then Cam Whitmore available. So you're getting one of those 3 guys regardless. And if it just takes about a pick or 2 and then Kelly Olynyk to move up, I would make that deal, absolutely.
Yeah, so I've thought about it over and over. I feel like and then I saw something today. I guess Indiana's shopping their pick, but is it worth moving up 2 spots? I mean, because at that point you're thinking like, okay, maybe you're in the Walker sweepstakes, but is he really that much better than whoever is falling to us at 9? I don't know. So realistically, I think I don't think the Jazz are going to have 3 draft picks that night. I think they're definitely going to, if anything happens, they'll probably trade 16 and 28 and then move up whatever they can in that teen spot there. I just for some reason can't see them sticking with all those picks, or even if they trade the 28th to get something in the future. It's just, that's my thought on that. I don't know. Where do you have any kind of realistic vibes that you're getting as far as trades that you think they'll do?
So I think, what I've seen, I saw that they were looking at maybe, well, I've heard maybe like about 1,000 different rumors about the Jazz. So don't know what to believe at this point, but I've seen that there's also rumors about them getting back in the lottery, like trading 16 and then maybe that later pick to get back up. So I would say if there's any move that I'd probably want to see and maybe realistic, getting a second lottery pick. If you're not moving up within that top 6, I'd say maybe doing this would probably be good because you're getting, I think pulling in 6 and 28 16 and 28 would net you a better prospect, or 13 would do that. Sorry. Yeah. 13 be better than 16 and 18 or something like that. I think you'd probably get a little bit step up. That'd probably be worth it instead of paying 3 rookie contracts.
My other dream guy, I mean, in that kind of teen area that I would love for them to get way above the French dude is Cason Wallace. I'm all in on Cason Wallace.
Oh yeah, no, I love Wallace.
Just because I get it's what everyone's saying. It's the Kentucky, it's the Kentucky thing. It's almost like what they say about vehicles, right? When you're going to look at a vehicle, you just know certain cars or trucks you look at, they're good. They're always good.
Yeah, like that make, like Kentucky guard, like that one's gonna be good. Like that one's such a solid make. Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't turn into an all-star or anything, but he's gonna be a good teammate. He's gonna listen to the coach. He's got the pedigree and all that. So I think, again, on this draft, I've done it in past where I'm like, let's give a player a try and just give him a couple of years. On this one, it feels like the Jazz really just need to go with a dude that's going to help them now, kind of a thing. And I'm not saying the player's going to come in and be like the next Walker Kessler or anything like that, but I'm not so into the development guy this time. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think in that?
I think you could go one of two. But I think you need to have a direction. So you go one of two ways: being that team that's tanking again, or trying to tank again. I guess I don't know, or just trying to compete because you have that first round pick next year. That's owed to OKC if it's not 1 to 10. So being within that play-in kind of thing is not acceptable. That's worst case scenario. So you either need to get that top 10 pick or secure like a place to get that downturn, like one of the top prospects next year, or try and compete. And if we learn anything this year, even if you try your hardest to try and tank, nothing's guaranteed. So I would probably agree getting some kind of competitive player and trying to make that playoff push next year. I'm not saying you're going to get it that instantly, but yeah, no, I think just trying to ride it on let's try and tank again next year. We saw that went this year. It didn't work out correctly. So let's try and actually be competitive and see how it goes.
And for everyone next year's draft apparently is not going to be very good either. So honestly, even if you get a top 10 pick, is it even that good? Who knows? Yeah. So,
and it's like, even if you want to pick around that range, you have maybe about 20 first round picks to trade back up in there. So you can always get in that pick and still be competitive. It's totally possible.
Yeah. I mean, comparing next year's draft to this year's, this year's draft is so deep and good that it's so hard to get back in, where next year a top 10 pick might be, all you got to do is trade them. I don't know, a Kelly Olynyk, and you get it. I don't know. It's not going to be as difficult. So, well, let's look back. I want to look back to last season. What is there's obviously the easy answers, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, and things like that. But is there anything else about last season that just really surprised the hell out of you with the Jazz?
One player that I really like and I want to see them re-sign is Damian Jones. I like Damian Jones a lot. I mean, dude shot. I mean, he only played like I don't know, maybe like 20 games or something like that. He shot like 71% from three, and that may not be sustainable. But just having that like big off the bench, even if he wasn't getting like extraordinary minutes like that, getting him back on the team next year, I think it would be good for his growth because we saw what we can do is like with like extended backup minutes role, even though he's still competing with how do you say that name? Azubuike?
Something like that. Just call him Dope.
Yeah.
Or Dope.
Yeah. Something like, yeah. But I think I liked the midseason edition of him, and I think getting him back, I think that'd be pretty cool. Just like an underrated fit. Like it's nothing crazy. Like if they don't re-sign him, whatever. But I think I like Damian Jones.
Well, I mean, from what we've all, again, quoting Tony Jones, because he seems to be always the smartest in these things, he does have the option of either opting in and opting out, and it sounds like he's going to opt in. So that would make sense. Sounds like he's going to stay. The opt-in and opt-outs is another thing that I don't think a lot of Jazz fans are talking about, because that's coming up just right after the draft. So Clarkson is the big one, of course, and most think he's going to opt out. You know, Clarkson's a hard one. Like, is it worth bringing him back? Because I feel like this is going to be like his last big contract of his career, because he's kind of getting out there in age.
Like that, right?
So he's definitely going to want to get paid, and then he's going to want the years on it too. I mean, a lot of these guys, when they get to that point, they want to make sure they have length on their contract. So that's where I think it's going to be hard. I mean, obviously the Jazz have money to spend, but is he worth putting on 3 to 4 years on that contract? And I don't know, where are you at on him? Do you think they should go hard on bringing him back?
So he's clearly talented, and I think if you brought him back, it's not a bad move. But I think considering the kind of money that you have, and you all obviously could spend it, but you also have a lot of young talent on the team you got to develop. And with him being 31, he's going to be looking for trying to compete. At the Jazz, I mean, the Jazz have the place to do that within the next 3-4 years, but he's not going to be the same player he is now. So tying up that kind of money now and on that long-term deal, by the time the Jazz are ready to compete, they're going to be ready to ship him probably, because scoring athletic guards at like 35 years old don't really have that kind of like great track history in the league. So I think if they opted to save that kind of money and not re-sign him, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because there's other scoring guards on the market or even in the draft that can do the same thing that he does. Might not be like 20 points per game kind of quality, but close enough, I guess.
So this might sound a little messed up to say, and some Jazz fans might get pissed at me, but there was times when I was just watching THT toward when he was going for the Jazz at the end, and I was like, well, he's just doing the Clarkson thing. He's bringing it up, and there's boom, going to the hoop. So
yeah.
And he's the same thing. He can either opt in or opt out of his contract. So that's going to be interesting for the Jazz's side. Like, do we say to Clarkson, we can't meet on this money, and then you just tell Taylor Horton, opt out and we're going to sign you for a longer term or whatever? And the other thing about Clarkson is that, he opts out, and is he taking the risk that maybe he goes down because he's going to FIBA and stuff and playing in the World Cup. So maybe he's going to be like, I'm going to go there and do the Lauri Markkanen thing and ball out, and someone's going to pay me a shit ton of money. Like someone just sees him play there and goes, holy crap, and way overpays him, like whatever. Then the Jazz should definitely not do that. You do not overpay a player like that. So
I think you can see the same thing from Taylor and Tucker too, just because he's like that younger kind of guy. You've seen flashes from him, and I think a young team that has that kind of money, like the Jazz, could come in and kind of pay him the same kind of money. Not Clark's level money, but that extensive money that Jazz may not want to match.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I don't think whatever the Jazz do on draft night, I don't think that really tells the future of what they're going to do with Clarkson, because I think they're obviously just going to pick what's best available and stuff like that. When people are saying they have to have a point guard, I really don't think they even look at that. They're really just going to pick best available. I guess let's just finish off as far as draft talk. What is if you have a big board, who are your 3 main guys for the Jazz?
So that's funny. I'm actually making a big board. It'd probably be coming out soon. But so 3 guys I'd probably say. I think if you're staying at 9, and like realistic kind of guys, I think Hendricks should be at the top of that board. As far as like a forward goes, if he's there, drops, you got to take him. I like Cason Wallace as far as the guard goes. He's a little undersized, but you've seen like his freshman year, he kind of just only improved, and like with this 3-point or whatever, and with that constantly improving kind of track record, if he's going to keep going at an NBA level, I think that'd be a pretty safe pick to make. And I'm actually a big Grady Dick fan. I think he's underrated as a defender and as an athlete, which is 2 things that he gets kind of dinged on. But if he's able to show out with those, he's already one of the best shooters in the drafts. So if he has that kind of shooting and slashing ability and that athleticism, like he can be like this all around kind of wing that people aren't really looking at. I think guys like Corey Kispert and guys that are like same kind of mold have come in before and kind of made a bad mark for Grady, but I think he can come in and be pretty good.
So that actually just reminds me, kind of going back to the talk about doing a trade with the Magic, is that apparently they're really high on him, and that would that's where a trade would make sense. If the Jazz want to move up and get a guy, and the Magic are okay, they maybe don't want to pick him so high up, but they'll move back to 9 and pick him there. Plus, then they get another pick. I mean, it kind of works out maybe all the way. That's why I say that's a pick or a trade that I think could definitely happen, and keep your eyes out for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let's just finish. Actually, one last question for you as far as the draft. Are you in the 16th range? We talked about Bufkin and things like that. Is there anyone that maybe we're not talking about, as far as most people aren't talking about, that you think if the Jazz took him, you'd be really happy about, or not? There's not really there. I don't know, kind of guy for you.
I can tell you who I'd be upset with. I don't think not really. I mean, I can't say that I'm gonna be really upset at any prospect that the Jazz end up taking, because it's like I'm not gonna know what they're gonna put up within the next 2 years. So my assumption could end up being completely wrong. I'm not a big Keandre George fan though. I think that he was a little inefficient in college and didn't really show much as far as like a production level. And he's kind of undersized for being a 2 guard. He could probably play the 1, but he's 6'4". And I'm not quite sure on that. And then I'm looking at some I would just avoid. Gigi Jackson. Don't even touch him. Don't touch Gigi Jackson. I think he's kind of just like this number. Like we've seen guys that are number 1 overall, like recruits at some point, and then end up falling off a cliff. Like Imani Bates is the same exact thing. I wouldn't touch him either. But just because you're highly ranked in high school doesn't mean you're going to be good at the NBA. And I think Gigi's that kind of case.
And there's these guys that are just, I mean, it's almost like the going back for the Jazz when they got Butler. There's reasons why dudes fall back or whatever, because they have injuries. And I can't remember who I spoke with recently, but they were talking about Butler in the draft, and he never worked out for the Jazz, because he even we knew about his heart thing or whatever. He had even more injury history that no one knew about.
And so I like Butler coming to the draft too. Like I liked him.
Yeah, but that's just why that things like that happen. So there's players like the GG and stuff like him, and then who is the other guy? Smith, right? That has the back issues or something
Nick
like
Smith?
that. Yeah, like those are just guys. Guys like those, you should just avoid them, even at 16. Maybe if they were there at 28, maybe you take the risk.
That's
and
where
try
you can
it.
take like even like a guy like back there like Derek Whitehead is kind of like dealing with an injury thing right now. But if you're all the way back in that, like you can take a risk on someone like that, especially with 3 picks. Oh, absolutely.
So one other thing I wanted to mention is Summer League's obviously coming up, and Ochoa is going to be playing in Summer League. I feel like this is going to sound really rude of me to say to some people, but sometimes I feel like Jazz fans overrate him just a tad. Like I understand falling in love with him just because he wasn't there at the start of the season. All of a sudden he's there at the end. It's like, whoa, he's so awesome. But I feel like people need to pump the brakes just a tad on him and let him show himself a little bit more. I guess my question to you is, what do you want to see from him in Summer League as far as his development? And 2, like, are you super duper high on him, or are you just like mid-level and want to see him develop more and stuff?
Yeah, I'd probably say about mid-level. I'm not like, oh, he's going to be like this. Like, he'll be all right. I think he's like in this role player mode right now. So I think he's not any range to be like this 15-point per game scorer that I think people could probably make him out to be at this point in his career. I think in Summer League, he'll have the opportunity because he'll be one of the more experienced guys there with a year under his belt. So I think if you're able to come in there and kind of show that you can have that more offensive responsibility, like he kind of showed towards the second half of the year. But if you're able to continue that in the summer and then keep that consistency going, I think being able to have that will be really beneficial to him.
Yeah, and then of course the other thing happening this summer, Walker Kessler getting named to the Team USA team. That's pretty awesome. I personally, I mean, it's just a good experience for him to go there and obviously be around those players and coaches. Do I expect him to come back and be like how Laurie was last year when he came back?
Yeah, no.
Absolutely not. But I think it's just an awesome experience for him to get and be able to go just to that. Oh, yeah. Honestly, I mean, I just thought I was pushing for him just to be on the select team, just to go down there and be in there as far as playing with them and practices and stuff. But I don't know. What was your thoughts when he got selected to that? To the main team?
So I think that's big time. I mean, you already saw the impact, like the surprise impact he had last year. So I think coming in and then being around some of the best players and coaches that the country has to offer. I mean, you're going to see, hopefully, I don't know if you're going to see like this Laurie kind of progression, but he's clearly going to get some like tips and tricks that are going to help him out in the league. Because I mean, he'll have guys like, I don't know who's exactly on the team, but I mean, Bam was on the USA team a few years back. but there's other big men that are just better than him at this point in his career could end up giving him some offensive tricks that can hopefully, because we know he has on the defensive side, but he's able to get some more offensive tricks in his bag that can help out a lot.
Well, especially, I mean, I believe Steve Kerr is the coach of the team. So if that's your coach, then
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't seen this as a rumor, but it would not surprise me at all if somehow Will Hardy ends up on that coaching staff. He's friends with Steve Kerr. They've done USA stuff together, so that would be awesome if he could go down there and get some experience too. But
yeah, maybe some Jazz tampering, hopefully.
Yeah, who knows? But okay, we'll just finish this up. Last question for you is the other thing, obviously in the offseason, is free agent signing. We know free agency this year is kind of crappy. Is there one person though that you would love to see the Jazz bring onto the roster?
Outside of like a guy like James Harden would be cool, but I don't really see that happening. But
we don't have nice enough strip clubs here.
Yeah, so. no, not quite. Maybe. So I think if we lose out on a guy like Clarkson or THC, like a scoring guard, Gary Trent is a perfect fit. He's averaging about like 15 plus points per game for like the past 3 seasons, and he's not even getting talked about. So if you're looking for a replacement, young kind of wing scorer to replace those two that you might lose out on, Trent could be that kind of guy. And then also Josh Hart could be super. Like we saw how good he was for New York once he got traded. So he's going to get a big bag. It sounds like he might stay in New York though, but if the Jazz had any shot at getting him, I think he's like he could be that starting 2 guard that just kind of meshes well with the entire team.
Well, I hate to tell you, but you totally missed the obvious answer, which is trying to think who's the obvious answer. I was trying to give a smart reply.
Not that obvious, huh?
No, it's not that obvious. Who should it be? Well, I think the easiest answer is a lot of people are saying it's gonna be Grant from the Celtics, just because Danny Ainge has got that history and stuff like that. God, who am I now? Now I know I'm having the end of the week mind fart going on right now. Who is it that No. Well, first off, I don't think Josh Hart's going to be available. I do think he stays with New York.
I bet he stays. Too.
Oh my God, I feel so stupid now because I wanted to say something so funny and now I can't think of it. No, from the Nuggets, Brown, because they just had that parade and their coach is all drunk and wasted out there. We're bringing him back. I don't give a F, and he's staying. I was like, dude, you are hilarious.
He's coming to Utah. He's actually coming to Utah. So
well, it's just like they can't afford him, so there's no way. Yeah. But that joke really.
One more year though. Don't worry, drunk Mike Malone, or sorry, Michael Malone's going to say one more year.
Well, once he sobered up the next day and got over his hangover, I'm sure he's like, I said some stupid things yesterday. But
yeah,
that's fine.
That kind of happens.
He earned it. It's okay. All right, man. I appreciate you jumping on. Why don't you give your plugs? Tell everyone where they can find you guys.
Yeah, sure. So if you're looking for any Jazz updates or any kind of news like that, go to si.com/jazz or si.com/NBA/jazz, and then check out Inside the Jazz on Facebook and Twitter.
Cool, man. Appreciate you hopping on so last minute here, and best of luck to all your coverage you got coming up. It's probably gonna be a busy week for you.
Yeah, same to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much, and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, same to you.
All right, see you, man.